And welcome back, everyone. Ellington here, and we are back with some Total War Rome 2. But we've got ourselves something a little bit different today. As you can see, a grand fleet is approaching the shore. We have got ourselves a port assault. I haven't seen a port assault in so freaking long. I'm super excited for this because it's been a really long time. I think port assaults are really funny and interesting. Maybe not funny, but they're interesting. Okay, so we've got ourselves a 4v4, and as you can see, not only do we have a port assault, we have got ourselves the classic matchup of Rome versus Carthage. This was sent in by Biggest Dickus. Yes, Biggest Dickus sent this wonderful fight in, and I'm intrigued to see how this goes. I don't really know exactly what's going to happen here, okay? So, let's go over some players. I don't really know who is who, just to be perfectly honest with you, because everybody's playing the same thing. I do know that this Carthage with the yellow banner is the person who sent it in. The problem is that his name in the battle is not his name. So I don't know which one is him. Anyways, so we have got, or I don't know what his in-game name is what I mean. I don't know which one of these names is him. So, but this is the guy who sent it in. We also have, so the four names are Grykos, Den Haag, Mayonnaise Dealer, and Don't Ask Who. I'm going to guess that Don't Ask Who is the person who sent it in. Now, for the Rome players, once again, we don't know which one is which, but we have got Charlie, we've got White Lotus, we have Barry Kington, and we have Rockinante. I probably butchered a lot of that, and I apologize. So, right off the bat, we actually have some artillery coming in from the Navy. There it is, right here. And he's actually hitting the Carthaginian artillery sitting on the shore. It's probably not a terrible idea, to be honest with you. We've got a bunch of elites, a bunch of principes. So here's my problem with port assaults, okay? They are really, really, really hard to balance because the naval attackers will always be at a disadvantage when it comes to their troops, okay? Navies do not have near as big of options when it comes to the kinds of troops they can bring, and then there's the problem with usually the troops that they can bring are smaller units. So look at the Principes, 120 men. Then you look at the defenders with 160 men. That tends to make it where it actually tends to balance the numbers more, which is not a good thing, right? There's a number discrepancy because the defenders have naturally a stronger position, which means that on an even front to numbers, it puts the attackers at an extreme disadvantage. So I'm intrigued to see how this goes. The artillery trying to take out some of the defending artillery. Defenders artillery trying to take out the artillery ship. You can see the quinquiring. Yes, whatever. This ship is 62 fire damage, 62 damage. With, 21% fire damage, that ship is going to sink. I'm telling you right now. And it's going to sink without getting probably any of... I mean, you can see it obviously got some, but this one's going to be left with one artillery. These guys somehow have not lost any. I don't know how, but you can see that ship is gone. When I'm gone... Sorry about that, I actually tapped out. And these guys are just like, well, that sucks. I guess our ship's going down. I guess we just gotta go down with the ship. Look at this guy. He's going in backwards. There's a... Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, as you can see, we've got a lot of Principes. Now, the issue that these guys have... Right now, here's another problem. So, you can see on the sandy, like, this is pretty much their deployment zone, okay? So, that means they can really only put certain amount of ships down onto the beach. Thankfully, for this part, there's a pretty big space that they can land on. But over here, they don't have as good of a place to land. You can see, like, their landing strip is more like this. And they don't really want to land right here because then they can easily be engaged by the... Over here, we've got a Roman onager ship. Looks like he's going directly for troops. He's got 44 kills. That's not bad. Oh, you can see this Carthage lost all of his artillery, and that's the only giant artillery that they had, which means that, or giant ballista that they had, so his crew is useless, unfortunately. His crew would not be able to get onto the mobile artillery. So the first unit of Stati, 60 men, gone. We have Principes set up, ready to land soon. I think what they're probably waiting for is a little bit of pressure from this side and then a little bit of pressure from this side. I'm not 100% sure why this Rome has pulled his troops all the way over here, you know, instead of just kind of like dropping on the beach and immediately setting up. You could easily set up your troops, you know, ready to assault. You don't have to assault yet, but you could set up to assault. You know, I'm just saying. They have another... Okay, they do have another artillery ship. 45 kills on this one. I don't know how this guy has lost none of his artillery yet. So they're waiting. Now he's readjusting. The other problem with Port Assault is because of the limited troop variety you get on the naval side, means that bringing things like archers is really hard. A lot of times they don't get archer options, or once again, if they do, they are limited troops. 120 men usually. Very rarely, there are some full manned units, 160, and there are some factions that get a very broad amount of their roster on ships. But unfortunately, it even then is still pretty limited compared to what those factions' usual rosters are. I'm a little surprised. If I was Carthage, I think I'd be charging in here. He is getting some jabby tosses. He got Scutari up here, but I think I would swarm these as soon as they're kind of jumping off. It does make you wait a second, okay? So as the men are jumping off, it makes you kind of like stall, like you can't target the unit for a few seconds. So that could be why he didn't charge in. He was just going for the jabby tosses. But I would definitely, as soon as they got that targetable option, I'd be charging in. So like this unit, he probably can't target this yet. This is exactly what they need to do. Get the ships out, get the new ships in. They need to drop as many as they possibly can before this initial force is overwhelmed. The other thing that needs to happen, they have to get pressure on here. The Velites sitting back here. Get some Triarii. They so far are not putting much pressure here yet. So, yeah. You can see one unit already gone. These guys, they immediately, as soon as they can, they need to get into this combat. They need to establish literally their beachhead, right? And until they do that, they're kind of in a sticky situation. Unfortunately, this is all this army has to commit. Where are our 4 armies? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, never mind. For some reason, I was like, why does it seem like we only have 3 Romes here? This is a great idea by this Rome. He took his onager and moved it over here and is getting much, much better shots. Look at this. Wow. And this Carthage really can't do anything about it. What should have happened here is they probably should have moved this artillery over to counter this artillery ship. Because this Carthage just took a ton of damage. The slow Testudo approach I don't think is doing you. You are in Testudo, but you are going horribly slow. Horribly slow. So they are just jabbing the crap out of you. Thankfully, it doesn't look like you're taking much damage, but oof. Get into combat, please. You gotta go. Oh, man. Now they're going to get charged in. I mean, that's fair. That's what Carthage should do there. I think their biggest problem right now is here, though. That this Rome is getting 2v1'd. A lot of Iberian swords getting some great jabby shots. You got Libyan Peltis. I always find that to do port assault, you need to go into it with some stringent, some strict rules. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things, so you kind of have to go into it where you have to either limit the defenders, so you could do something where you did maybe like a 4v3, where you gave the defenders 3 instead of 4. You could make the defenders leave money on the table, which is probably the better option. Like, you know what I mean? The defenders already lose money, right? But because of the limitations of the naval armies, it really, really hurts the attackers here. And so the money difference probably isn't enough in this kind of situation. So what we'll probably see when we get to the end of the battle is we'll go over the numbers of the armies, and we'll see that usually there's a big difference in numbers between the attackers and the defenders. Sorry if you heard that, I had to adjust my headset. With this battle, we're probably going to see much, much closer numbers, and that's not a good thing. So it's something like, and I think that's one of the reasons it's so rare to see port assaults. I do really appreciate seeing this. It is really cool to see. It's very cinematic, you know what I mean? Very cool to watch, very cool to talk about. But I hate to say, I don't know that this is going to go very well for the attackers. I said I was thinking it at the beginning, but I still think it's a really cool thing to watch and see. And I think if you guys want to, I would love if somebody wanted to try and, you know, do some port assaults and come up with some fun rules that could kind of balance this out. I would love to see it. Once again, I said it in the last video. If you guys want me to do battles, the best place to post the battles is in the Discord, okay? The Discord is linked in the description. If you are not a member, please join. Get in with us. Come play games. We play games other than Rome, and we would love to have you guys. But it's also the best place to post battles. So there is a video that I have done on how and where to post battle replays. If you literally just look up how to post Rome 2 replays, my video is like #1 on the search results, and it will tell you everything of how to find replays, post replays, things like that. So I would love to see them. So please, if you want to try and come up with some like fair, reasonable rules to make things like port assault a more feasible option, I would love to watch them. I think the artilleries are now finally out of ammo. The Velites have kind of moved forward, and actually I kind of like this idea. Instead of trying to land and not getting very good angles, they stayed on the ships and are actually getting solid angles. The artillery ships, let's see, we had 153, and the other one is gone. I think he landed. Yeah, 336. Wow. They need to start taking advantage of this immediately. Because this is the best spot they've got so far. This is a good idea, but go engage. 2v1 the Mercenary Noble Fighter. Not only 2v1 that, shoot the living crap out of it with your Velites. I approve of going for the Cretan Archers. Cretan Archers, you need to get out of this battle. Unfortunately, the initial fight is pretty much done. Bounce Powers is in favor of the defenders, but this side does not look good. They are going to have to start sending reinforcements over here. The front end side is actually going pretty well. This side is kind of a stalemate, I would say. But this right now, this right here is a mosh pit. Not mosh pit, it's just not set very well, right? Rome is getting through a lot of areas. They've really pushed into this plaza area here. We are getting some good cav charges by the noble cavalry. Gotta be. He probably busted down enough that he could do that pull through. That's fine. And then he's going to get the back of another one. What's happening here is, even though, so watch, he only has 22 kills after, blasting through 2 units now. But in reality, one of the biggest things he's getting here, even though it may not be a ton of kills, is the morale effect, right? He's doing pretty good morale. He broke 1 unit there, did a lot of morale damage here. But this is kind of a little bit of a concern over here as well. I almost wish that this army had waited, because they have really good progress here. You see one of the armies now swarming over here, and that's going to put this Rome in a lot of danger. He's going to be hurting here in a minute. He just doesn't have enough men. Is really the biggest issue here. The noble fighters chasing after some of the Velites, getting caught in the back by a Principe, but the archers here doing a really good job. That's one of the, once again, another big disadvantage is that the attackers have no archers. So they have no way to counter any of the defenders' archers. And that's a huge problem. Now that noble cavalry general took a lot of damage eventually. He's down to 29 of 80. And then the other one ping-ponging around here. He's at 45 out of 80. Only 31 kills. I'm really surprised by that, actually. 70 charge bonus, but he does not seem to be getting the greatest amount of kills here. He's at 53. Now he's getting some kills. He's getting into some of the Velites. But with some of the back charges he's been getting into some of these Principes, I would definitely be expecting better kills than this. 67 now. Triarii, just stay where you are. Defend the backs of your men. 191 on a Libyan infantry, 97. Got a lot of Sacred Band. Unfortunately, Sacred Band, like a lot of the early hoplites, they're not the greatest hoplites, unfortunately. The hoplites of later DLCs far outdo the hoplites of the earlier game. Things like your Sacred Band, your picked hoplites, things of the sort. A lot of it has to do with the difference in their weapons. The later hoplites tend to have the heavier spear, and the earlier hoplites don't, and that affects a lot of the. They've got quite the opening here, and it does look like they are going to try and exploit that. They're keeping this engaged, but they are sending troops around the sides. Noble Cavalry, 123 kills at the end. They had another one. Did he try to go out and do something? Where did that small unit go? Right here. There he is. 53 kills still. Rome's still hanging on, man. And some of the stuff that's left over here isn't all the great. Let's see, we got Noble Fighters 150 kills, Libyan Infantry 91, the other Noble Fighter over here 120, Iberian Swords. Iberian Swords with 81 and 115. That's not bad. It's not bad. Bounce power is unfortunately still trending towards the defenders. Unfortunately for the attackers, I guess I should say. Kind of depends on who you're rooting for here. What a great matchup, though. I love when they hear that. A sword! Give me a sword! It always makes me think of Gladiator. Now, this Rome, honestly, is doing an admirable job here. Even though he's outmatched and outmanned, he's doing a good job of keeping things kind of tied down over here, as well as just, honestly, getting some kills. You know, he's doing a good job. In the end, he kind of got 1v1.5'd, you know? He didn't really get 2v1'd, because he, you know, like, one of these armies had already seen combat, though he still had a lot left, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Yeah, they don't have any answer to things like the Noble Fighters. They don't have a great answer to the Sacred Band. Once again, even though the Sacred Bands may not be the greatest hoplites in the game, they are still probably going to be better than your Principes, right? Principes are a solid unit all in all, but especially in a defensive position, the Sacred Band is going to do pretty well. They also have African Pikes. What are you going to do? You know, you don't have the archers, you don't have the Balearic slingers, so what do you do to get rid of your African Pikes? It's a tough thing. It's harder to do. You know, it's not impossible without archers or slingers, but it is a lot harder. It means you literally just can't engage them front to front, right? You have to find ways to not do that, and that's really hard to do in these kind of defensive positions. Cretan archers all doing pretty solid. Another Sacred Band moving forward. And unfortunately, the attacking Rome over here is gone. Triarii 78 kills, Principes 225. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. 115 on the Noble Cavalry. And now you can see all these reinforcements are able to return. What's happening? These guys need to move back to the fight. Although I hate to say, we could probably assume that this is a done deal at this point. Triarii fighting off one of the Noble Cavalry generals. He should probably just begin his advance over here. You can see one of the Principes moving that way. I don't know why the Triarii is going over this way. It's really not going to be that beneficial to him. A bunch of Elites are wavering. Move your men forward. You must push the attack. Oh, did you see that? Good charge. 154, 160 now. Ooh, that was a good charge. Triarii in some of the DLCs, or at least one of the DLCs I know, get javelins, and they are extremely good in that one. Very, very good. And as you can see, I think that is it. Army loss is beginning to kick in because I believe there's only one general left, and that's this one. With the loss of the other general, it puts them in the situation where the morale just goes... Although I guess majority of them are disciplined, so I guess not. But yeah, either way. Triarii, basically the only thing left standing. I enjoyed this, even though it may not have been like the most even of battles. It was fun to watch a port assault. I haven't seen one in a really long time, and I really enjoyed it. I remember there was a port assault that me and Gorm and a few others did a few years ago that we did on like Thessaloniki, where we did a naval invasion, but we did like a 4v2, and it was super cool because what we were trying to almost recreate in a way was the movie Troy, with the battle outside the walls and yada yada yada. And it ended up really, really cool. We actually sent that battle to Pixelated Apollo. It's actually one of his biggest videos he's ever done. It helped that when he did it, it was right around the time that they announced the Troy Total War. But yeah, you know, if you haven't, go over to his channel and find that on his channel. It won't be hard to find. It's a really, really fun battle to watch. So look at what I was saying about the deployed. They're very, very similar. Actually, the defenders outnumbering the attackers. That is why port assaults are really hard. So let's look at some kills here. So Grykos, we got 2452. I'm not really going to go through a lot of this. It's going to be skewed in a way, you know what I mean? 297, 240, it's pretty solid. 287 on Iberian Sword is stupid. Stupid good. Den Haag, you know, obviously 2159. 208's pretty good. 178, 277 on a Noble Fighter. Mayonnaise Dealer, 1558. I think this was... I don't know which one this would have been. 1558. One of the backside ones probably. 197 or 190, 165, 104. 303 on the general. Well done. Then finally, Don't Ask Who. 2,120 kills. 208 on the general. Archers did relatively well. Noble Fighters did good. Now for the attackers, this is where it's going to be a little bit harder. Charlie, I'm going to bet you that this was the front beach, the main beach. I'm going to bet you that's who this was. White Lotus, 1491. I'm going to bet one of the backside attackers, probably. Then we got Barry Kington, 2096. 154 on the artillery. Nicely done. Then finally, I don't really know how to say this. Racanante, 2158. 337 on the artillery. Well done. Our infantry did well. This is probably that tiny little peninsula attack. I'm going to bet you that's who this was. But that is going to be it for today's battle. Thank you guys so much for joining. Don't forget that if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time.